My subject today is abortion, and my purpose in talking about abortion is to increase awareness and to promote a healthy conversation about the subject. But first, there's a number that I'd like you all to remember. 1.5 billion. Keep that in your mind because we're going to talk about that number in a minute. Let's dive right into the history of abortion. There are two sides to this issue, the pro-choice side and the pro-life side. Keep abortion legal, says the pro-choice side. Stop abortion now, say the pro-lifers. These two sides have existed for a while now, but the pro-life side has an obvious, longer history. From the beginning of the world until now, it has always been the thought of just about every society, in just about every moment, that abortion is something that you don't do. But as of recent decades, the side of choice has become increasingly popular. Made that way, in large part, by this woman, Margaret Sanger, who founded Planned Parenthood, which basically started in 1916, over 100 years ago, and has evolved into what it is today, the number one provider of abortions, not only in the United States, but around the world. Because of much of her work, there came a point in 1973 where the Supreme Court had to decide a case called Roe v. Wade, which, in effect, changed the law and legalized abortion nationally. And around the world, around the same time and since, many nations have followed suit or have done similar things. And so that brings us to a few of the abortion numbers that exist, some of the statistics. Since Roe v. Wade in 1973, there have been over 61 million abortions performed in the United States. Worldwide, there are over 40 million abortions performed annually. And, remembering the number that we started out with, worldwide since 1980, there have been over 1.5 billion abortions performed. 1.5 billion. That brings us to the Abby Johnson story. This woman was a clinic director for Planned Parenthood, the organization started by Margaret Sanger. This woman, Abby Johnson, oversaw, as the clinic director, over 22,000 abortions until there came a day when one of the doctors requested her help because they were short-staffed in performing an abortion through ultrasound. This experience changed Abby's life in a big way. She saw this little child moving around and full of life be ended, killed, terminated. And it was such a graphic and heart-wrenching experience for her that she left Planned Parenthood and became one of the number one promoters of the pro-life movement in the entire United States, even in the entire world. She wrote a book called Unplanned, and then it's been recently made into a movie, Unplanned, the Abby Johnson story, which I would highly recommend. Let's talk about for a moment the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints position on the subject. Ever since 1885, when the first president first declared an official position on this, where they said, "We again take this opportunity of warning the Latter-day Saints against those practices of feticide and infanticide." The church has always maintained this position of being against abortion, except in a few very rare and special circumstances of rape or incest or danger to the life of the mother, and careful and thoughtful prayer, fasting, priesthood counsel, and approval by the Holy Spirit before this would ever be considered. In World War I, there were over 8 million soldiers killed. In World War II, over 22 million. Between those two world wars, over 30 million soldiers were killed in all of the different countries that were involved in those two wars. 30 million. But as we've already discussed, every year we lose 40 million infants through this practice of infanticide. Does abortion really help society? Is abortion moral and right? Does God approve? These are questions that we all need to ask ourselves, and I would invite you, each and every one of you, to consider this and to research more and to find out which side of the issue are we really on.